To be reviewing adding mixed numbers. A mixed number has a whole number and a fraction. These are our 5 steps in adding mixed numbers. Some of these steps you can skip if you don't need to do them. So first you have to ask yourself if they do have the same denominator, you can skip step number 1. These two denominators, 3 and 7, are different. So I need to do the first step, which is finding equivalent fractions. To find the equivalent fraction, for these two fractions, I would skip count by 3 and 7 to find the least common multiple. I know that the least common multiple is 21, so I'm going to turn both of these fractions into equivalent fractions that have 21 as the denominator. So 7 times 3 is 21, so I need to multiply the 5 by 3 as well, which gets me 15. 3 times 7 is 21, multiply the numerator by 7 as well, gets me 14. Now that I have my two equivalent fractions, I can do step number 2, which is to rewrite my problem vertically. Now that I have rewritten this problem with the numbers stacked on top of each other, I can add them. First, I'm going to add my whole numbers, which is 13. Step number 4 is to add the fractions. I'm going to keep my denominator the same, and I'm going to add 14 and 15, which gives me 29. Now let's look at step number 5. It says to convert improper fractions and then add it. Is this an improper fraction? It is, because the top number is larger than the bottom number, making it more than one whole. So we need to take this number and we need to break it into a whole number and a fraction. And to do that, we have to look at this as a division sign. 29 divided by 21. So put the 29 in the box and the 21 on the outside. I can only get 21 out of that 29. So I'm going to put my 1 up here, multiply 1 times 21, subtract that, it gives me 8 left over. Now I know my denominator didn't change, so 21 is still my denominator, and 8 is what I had left over. So this fraction right here turned into 1 whole and 8/21. I need to add these 3 numbers together. 13 plus 1 is 14, and 8/21. So you can skip step number 1 or step number 5 only if those aren't necessary. Otherwise, make sure you don't skip any steps. Now we have 3 1/4 plus 5 3/4. Let's look at our steps. The first step is to find equivalent fractions. You have to look at those two fractions and ask yourself if you can add them. They do have the same denominator. That gives us permission to skip step number 1. So let's go to step number 2 and let's stack these vertically. Now that we've stacked them vertically, we can move on to step number 3, which is adding our whole numbers. 5 plus 3 is 8. Step number 4 is to add our fractions. Keep the denominator the same and add your numerator, which is 4. Now, let's look at step number 5. Convert improper fraction and add it. Let's take a look at that fraction. 4 over 4 represents 1 whole. So I actually don't have to even put this in a division problem because I know what I'm going to get out of it. If the top number is the same as the bottom number, they are equal to 1 whole. So I can change this into 1 whole and I can add it to my 8, giving me an answer of 9.